And we are officially live here in Cape Town with a baking superstar. We have Ora Eliason, is that pronounced correctly? And Ora has got some very exciting things to tell us about some of her adventures. She's just returned from the US and she got an opportunity to work with Buddy the Cake Boss. And for those of you who don't know who he is, I'm sure if you Google him or if you have any of the satellite TV stations on all the cooking channels, he should definitely make an appearance because he's very well known in the baking and the bakery circles. Is that what they call it?
Industry.
The industry.
Yes.
It's the industry. Okay. So we're going to start off with the basics. You chose to not finish in grade 12 at high school and you moved to college. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why?
So I'm not the academic type, but I decided, and my parents actually decided, my grandfather actually, he was like, she's wasting her time in high school. She must go and follow her dreams. She comes home and bakes every day. Why doesn't she go to culinary school? So I left in grade 10. And
how did you feel about that?
I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish high school. So.
But you know what? The theory is that you think that you might not have finished high school. When you said that you weren't really academically inclined, maybe you were differently academically inclined.
Yes.
And your skills lay in other fields.
Yeah, I was more creative than academic.
Okay, all right.
So my grandfather said take her out of high school, let her follow her dreams. So I went to culinary school last year and went through the year and did all my practicals and theory and some exams.
And what did you focus on? Was it just a generalized cooking or baking or a bit of everything?
I focused on baking and pastry, so I'm a pastry chef officially. And yeah.
Okay, and then when your grandfather says that you were always cooking and baking and doing whatever at home, from a very young age.
Yes.
And you mentioned to me earlier that you had a role model, someone that you always looked up to.
Yeah.
And that was obviously Buddy the Cake Boss. Yeah. How did that come about?
So when I was about 8 or 9, I would come home from school, sit down, start baking, put on cake class, and start baking and learning from him. And ever since that, years went by, and my grandfather just said, listen, this is your dream, this is your passion. So follow it.
Your grandfather's a very smart man. I have to tell you that I heard someone saying on the internet that, it's better to follow a passion of yours and fail than do something that you don't enjoy and fail.
Yes.
So you chose the latter. You chose to, the former, to obviously follow your passion. You did this whole culinary thing, and then an opportunity arose where, well, how did it come about? Did you want to go to America and meet him or go work there, or what actually happened?
So I had to do an industry placement for culinary school. We had to do 1,200 hours to write our final international exam. So my parents decided, why don't you go to America? They found a little bakery decorating shop, and I would go there and learn a few things and then complete my hours. So I went, stayed with my brother in America. I was in New Jersey, and it was very nice at first, this bakery, and eventually went down south. So they started treating me terribly, where I was...
we won't mention any names, of course. No. Yes.
So I was washing dishes the whole day, which in culinary school you do wash dishes, but you know what, you don't wash dishes to the extent where you get chemical burns on your hands.
Okay, but then that you weren't really doing much baking.
I wasn't doing anything for my course, so I left. And then me and my mom were having some tea at home, and she was like, why don't you apply to Cake Boss? We're in America, apply, why not? I was like, I don't know, it's not going to work, he's too famous, blah, blah, blah. So eventually I applied. Then my mom said, okay, then she was like, okay, let her wait out. And then I got the response, the automated message saying, listen, we're not hiring. So I was like, no.
And that's always a demoralizing thing.
Yeah.
When you get a message that someone says, look, thank you very much for taking the time to apply. You know, we do have a long waiting list of people that are applying, and at the moment we're not hiring.
Yeah.
But you didn't accept that.
I did not accept that.
Why?
Because I was like, okay, that's a bit of a slap in the face type of thing. Why don't I actually go down to the store, see if he's there, which he's not usually there, but by chance he was.
Uh-huh.
So I went to work with my brother one day, and during his lunch break, we went to the store, and they just finished filming for the day at the store. So he was there taking pictures, signing autographs. So I went up to him, I was very nervous. I said, hi, my name is Ora, I'm a pastry chef, I'm a role model of inspiration, and I'm from South Africa, and I've been to culinary school last year, and I'm looking for an internship. And next thing he said was, yeah, okay, sure, why not?
That was it.
That was it.
So obviously there is a system in place where people apply, but it's probably not going through him, it's going through a team of people who... Okay, so the human resources, and he comes along and he just clicks his fingers and says, sure, no problem, I'll make it so. Yeah.
So then next thing, me and my brother are in the car, and we're following them to his bake shop, Lakawana, just down the road.
I mean, your brother's probably sitting there freaking out going, did this really just happen?
Yeah.
And you're probably freaking out.
Yeah. We didn't think it would happen at all. So it's like, okay, this is like, dream come true. And we were saying, like, okay, let's not get our hopes up because I might not get the job, blah, 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 you know. So then I go in, I meet the head of human resources, and first I'm sitting down in the waiting room, and I ask for the head of human resources, and he walks in after me, and he goes and calls her and says, there's a girl from South Africa, go and attend them now.
So he just clicked his fingers and it happened?
Yeah, he is the boss.
Okay, but now hold on. Now we've obviously got some people joining us. I think it looks like possibly Jairus. Is that Jairus or Livingston? I'm not sure who it is. Is it Jairus or Livingston? Livingston.
Yeah, Livingston.
We have Livingston from Kenya, and I'm just going to put you on. And then we have Mr. McNulty there from the US. And of course, we have Kathy from Austria, and hopefully we've got a whole bunch of people watching it live as well. So I mean, this is a profound moment for you.
Yeah.
You're a huge idol that you've looked up to. You go and meet him by chance, and he just says, "Sure, we'll make it happen."
Yeah.
The resources process the file. When did you start working for him?
So they gave me a trial day, which was a week later. But first, when I went to go meet him, I went on a tour of the bakery, and I met Ralph and the gang and Joe and everyone from the show.
Okay, these are just names of the people who are part of the team there.
Yeah,
for those who don't watch the show.
Crazy experience. You know. Then a week later, I went, had my trial day. I was nervous.
What did you have to do at the trial days?
So I was working with a couple of people, and we were making rugula, which is like a pastry, like jam, chocolates, little rolled up pastry.
And obviously you get different types.
Yes.
And are these typical foods that you would have from the bakeries there, or these unique things that they...
So this is one of the typical foods we had. So halfway through my day, Joey pulls me into his office, and he says, "Listen, you're doing well. When can you start?" type of thing. So I was like,
that's quite surreal when that happens.
And he was so told about it. I was like, this is a serious, cool, real thing.
But what kind of things were you doing? I mean, were you folding it in a certain way? I mean, what did he notice that made him think that you're definitely doing well?
He saw that I knew what I was doing, and he liked my work ethic and my passion towards it, and how I got along with everyone, and he knew that it was my thing, and I had to be doing it.
Okay, that's very important. Yeah. So do you think that your passion was oozing out in the work that you did?
Yes.
Very important. And obviously, your prep that you got here in South Africa must have been pretty good because you knew the stuff.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to mention the school that you went to?
I went to Capsicum.
There we go. Okay, so Capsicum obviously did a good job.
Yeah.
They got you prepared. You get there now and you're offered this job. How long did you get to work there?
So I worked there in total 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But within the 6 months, I went to South Africa halfway through.
Why would you come back to South Africa halfway through?
So I actually was very scared to ask. I knew he was going to South Africa, and I was very, very nervous to ask him, like, oh, what are you doing? Who's going with you, type of thing. And one of my friends...
You were fishing. You were definitely fishing.
I was definitely fishing, yeah. So one of my friends was like, listen, go. And they literally pushed me. He was taking a picture of one of the cakes he just did in the big cake cooler. And I was like, listen, you're going to South Africa. I'm willing to come with, if it's okay with you, if I can come with and help with the show. I want to visit my parents in any case, so I'll just help you along, and it could count for my hours for school and everything. And he said yes, and I just...
He seems like a pretty chill guy.
He really is.
That is pretty cool. And so that was for the Good Food and Wine Festival, which is an annual event in South Africa. It happens in Cape Town, and I assume in Johannesburg as well. And so basically what happens is they host quite a few well-known international chefs. It's basically like the cooking channels. They've had all the top names there. We
were working with Mac Preston, who was also there. So it was like our show, Mac Preston show. So I was on stage with Buddy, which was fantastic. And
what did you have to do? Were you like an assistant?
So I was an assistant type of thing, but I also helped him plan the shows. Like he asked for my ideas and he wanted me to take initiatives and think of different things to create or make the show different. Like we ended up doing the kids coming on stage and doing buttercream flowers on cupcakes, and we had the dads doing it, and the dads did a little fashion show, dancing competition, which was like...
And how large were the audiences? Was it quite busy?
There were at least 600 people.
Per show?
Per show.
Wow. Okay. So
lots of people there.
Would you say that you had a lot of public speaking experience, or was this something that caught you a little bit off guard?
I knew it would be public speaking, but I was like, oh, very
600 people is 600 people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. So I was very nervous, but then because he was so calm and chilled and everything, I was calm and chilled. So I got used to it after the first 2 shows. And yeah, so...
And that was a big success, and hopefully, Buddy, I hope you're coming back to Cape Town. Very important. So now, I mean, you've come to Cape Town. You go work with him. It's just you and him, or is there a whole team of people?
So it was me and him in Cape Town doing the shows on stage, and his little son Buddy was here, and Gabby, which works in the bakery with us. So Gabby and Buddy went to in Cape Town, and me and Big Buddy were on stage doing the shows, cooped up in the...
That is really cool.
Yeah.
But now, that means you kind of got to know him quite well.
Yes. I feel very special because I got to know him on a personal level where he like gave me life lessons. He asked me questions about my passions and interests, and like...
Did you have any moments where things became crystal clear? I mean, you obviously knew you were passionate about cooking and baking and all those sorts of things. But I mean, after speaking to him, I mean, you didn't need any confirmation, but it was just nice to have someone as famous as him and as talented as him just support and confirm that.
Yes, and it was just such a special and heartwarming moment having my role model and inspiration just sitting down, listening to me and agreeing with me and just chatting and just sharing like...
So that is beyond surreal. I mean, it's quite an incredible experience to have that kind of connection. And then you go back to the US.
So I went back to the US where I worked a bit. And my last couple of weeks, I injured my shoulder. I fell down the stairs or something, can't remember. Long moment. And
you can't remember. That must have been a very special moment.
yes.
And then?
And I injured my shoulder, so I wasn't able to do work for a couple of weeks, but then I went back and spent the last couple of weeks with the gang.
Mm-hmm.
But within the time of my cake boss experience, I helped on a couple, 4 or 5 cakes roundabouts, but I did a lot of the prep work for a few. And
I mean, now when you say I helped on 4 or 5 cakes, I mean, bakeries make hundreds of cakes per day. Why is it so special that you helped on only 4 or 5? Because these are obviously not just your average cakes.
Yeah, these are not just the average cakes. Like, the one cake we did was a griffin, and it was for something called LARPing, which is live action role play.
Mm-hmm.
So as Buddy explained it, a whole bunch of nerds in a forest playing, like acting out.
Oh, that is so
scenes.
funny that you just
crazy.
that way. Okay.
That was definitely the funniest thing.
But this is huge in the US. The live role action, it's very, very big. Yeah. So it hasn't really taken off in a major way here in South Africa, but it is growing in popularity.
Yes. So it was huge, and during that process of the cake, we made thousands of feathers. We
feathers, obviously icing feathers. Yeah.
Chocolate feathers for the cake, and then next thing I turn around and there's Buddy with a sword and Ralph with a bow and arrow, and they're running around the bakery, aiming it at everyone. I almost got hit, and everyone was just crazy.
And the cake was not attacked.
The cake was not attacked.
Okay, but now the question is that, do you think that Buddy is secretly into live action role playing?
I'm not sure.
You're not
but
sure?
He had fun that day.
Okay, so there is a good chance that he's obviously involved in that. So now, what are the kinds of things? I mean, did you have to sign an agreement that you were not going to share any of the trade secrets of the bakery? I mean, because obviously Carlo's Bakery is famous for certain signature, I don't know, rogala, whatever it is, or maybe it's a croissant or a scone or something that they make that is different to everyone else. Did you have to sign some sort of agreement to say that I'm not giving out that recipe?
So I didn't have access to the recipes, but when say the one day we were making cookies, so instead of pumping out cookies for the one batch that Hamad, my supervisor, was making, I would go over to him and see how it was made, and then he would make me do the next batch. So I was learning as I was going just how the mixes were formed and everything. But I wasn't just in the baking room. I was in the decorating room, the cookie packing room. I worked in the bakery on Sundays for a little bit, and
well, it's important to understand every aspect of the business. And from that exposure, there's obviously a chance that maybe one day in the future you would maybe even run your own bakery.
Yes, that's the plan.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But of course, nothing to compete with Cake Boss, because I mean, no. So I mean, are you a good baker? I mean, would you consider your cupcakes to be of a high standard, or do you? I mean, you wouldn't. It's sacrilege to say this, but you wouldn't use a ready mix or anything like that. No. I take that off the record right now. So you would never do something like that.
No.
But I mean, a lot of people, from a convenience point of view, would just go to the shelf, grab the ready mix, and in the US, they are very big on ready mixes. You can buy doughs in the rolls. You can even buy a carton of eggs that have already been broken into the. So you don't have to do much work.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing it from scratch in the bakery. Is that correct?
From scratch.
And I think doing it old school probably makes the product, the final product, a better product. Yeah. Can you taste it? Can you taste the difference?
I don't know, but it gives it the more homemade feeling type of thing.
Okay, and what sort of quantity of food were you making?
So on a cupcake day, let's say average cupcake day, okay, so it was either 5,000 to 25,000 cupcakes a day.
What? Yeah. How do you make 25,000 cupcakes?
Machines.
So you were literally.
Lots of people.
I mean, what size team are making 25,000 cupcakes a day? And hold on, I mean, he's got a bakery. How many bakeries has he got?
So he's got one main factory, and I think there's about 9 or 10 bakeries throughout America, but he's got one in Vegas, and they're just opening one in Brazil, and hopefully one in Cape Town soon.
Well, I mean, buddy, if you're looking for someone to head the Cape Town branch, I know of a person that I can recommend. What I do find amazing is that, I mean, 25,000 cupcakes is a giant batch of cupcakes. So from an ingredients point of view, you have to have a very strict management of what comes in and what goes out.
Yeah.
So do they have teams that manage that as well, or is it one person who just is in control of all of that?
So the one person that does the cakes and the cupcakes, the mixes, he is the one that's in charge of that mixer and the cupcakes and the cakes, and it's his job.
And where are these 25,000 cupcakes going?
To all the different stores where they're going to get finished with icing and sprinkles and then sold to customers.
But we're talking 25,000 cupcakes a day. So I'm trying to get this around my head. So even if you've got 9, let's take 10 stores, 25,000 means 2,500 cupcakes a day per store. Is he then making them and then shipping them to all the stores?
So they get put in a truck in boxes and frozen, and then they get shipped to all the stores.
But don't they bake their own in-store as well?
They don't. They do like we'll make the chocolate chip cookie dough at the bakery, but they'll actually bake it at the.
Okay, and it would make sense for me, or to me, that from a quality control point of view, if you're making everything in one location and distributing it, you know that everyone is getting the same thing, as opposed to each bakery making it their own way.
Yes.
So that I understand. That would definitely make sense to me. And then, of course, you 25,000 cupcakes. What else did you make besides 25,000 cupcakes?
So I was very involved in the lobster tail crew.
And what is a lobster tail? It's not an actual lobster tail.
No, it's not. So it's a pastry where it's kind of like a puff pastry, but it's crispier. It's made by, you roll out the pastry and then you put lard or your shortening on, and then you stretch out the dough and you roll it into like a big spiral, and then the process goes, you cut it out, flatten it with some more lard, and then you flan it out with your fingers so it forms a cone.
Okay. Why lobster tail? Does it resemble a lobster tail?
So, yeah, it does resemble a lobster tail.
Okay.
And it is filled with a kind of like an eclair mix, and then it is baked. So the eclair mix causes the dough to puff up into a big lobster tail. First it's like this small, and then it's like that big type of thing. And then we filled it with a baby's lobster tail cream.
Wow.
So it's the best.
Okay, but now here's the problem. When you are baking, there is a certain element of tasting, and sometimes we get a little bit lost in the process and it becomes a little bit more than tasting. Some of us, you're supposed to end up with 12, but you only end up with 6 because you did taste one, but then you also accidentally tasted the other 5 as well, which can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, accidents happen like that in kitchens all the time, and I raise my hand and say that I take full responsibility for accidental eating of food. Were there things in particular that were so nice that it was really, really difficult to work with it because you just had to eat one?
So with the lobster tails, it's actually my favorite. So what we did is Reggie and Antonio, who headed up the lobster tail crew, we would each do a test pan, each batch of filling.
It must be so tough. Sure.
So
okay.
Just to see how if you were filling it correctly or how it was made or stuff like that. So then you would do it, and then if there was leftover stuff, you would take home because it was baked and it couldn't go to stores and everything.
Okay. And so did they have strict control where people might want to eat on the job and they kind of had to monitor it?
Well, people would like take a cookie here and there, and like if there was a cupcake that was lopsided, instead of like just throwing it.
Oh, so you were doing quality control.
Yes, I was doing quality control.
Yes, I've done a lot of that myself as well. I think quality control is critical.
Yeah.
You don't want any of those lopsided lobster tails kind of like getting through. I mean, it reflects on the person managing the process. So you had to eat those. And were there people who were literally reprimanded because the tasting, they went a little bit too far with the tasting? Or no, not really? Or do you get sick of eating all those things because you're around it all the time?
I personally don't like cupcakes anymore because there's so many all the time.
Well, 25,000 per day, I can understand that, okay?
But occasionally I'll crave one type of thing, but pastry's pastry. Every chef loves their pastries.
Okay.
Sweets.
And there's obviously a new trend towards the banting approach, gluten-free. I mean, in the US, they are quite big on all the different types of things that you can get. You can get like 30 varieties of milk, and they've got all the different flours that you can get. But do you find that there is a shift towards the health side of things, and people are requesting different types of confectionery to match their health habits?
So a lot of people are definitely heading towards a healthy and banting thing. I've been on a whole bunch of gluten-free baking courses and everything, and I struggle with it because getting the flour mixes correct and all that.
Yeah.
And
because it just tastes absolutely lousy no matter how much you pretend.
Yes.
I mean, I've been to a couple of bakeries and I've tried their amazing gluten-free, wheat-free, taste-free breads, and they do live up to that expectation. Yeah.
Yeah. So me personally, baking, if you're going to do it the right way. You have the flour, you have the butter, you have the sugar. Me, sometimes I'll put honey and brown sugar instead of white sugar if I have to be healthy. Or instead of milk, I would
with the normal icing on top.
Yes.
Anyway. It's like having a tab or a Diet Coke and a nice big chocolate mousse next to it. Okay?
But like what I've been doing recently is I would use coconut milk instead of normal milk because it gives it another flavor and
much richer flavor.
Richer and moister. So so that's one of my new things.
And then, I mean, you finished up in the US.
Yes.
You're back here. You're just here on holiday. You're finishing off things.
So I'm back to write my final culinary exam. So it's my international culinary exam for City and Guilds, which I'll be writing on the 4th of November.
And what is that entitled to you to?
So from that, I'll graduate and I'll have my diploma in culinary arts and I'll be a qualified pastry chef.
Okay, and then that's when you have to do some thinking as to what it is that you want to do.
Yes. So I might travel a bit next year, but I might open up my own bakery, which my dad really wants me to do. And I might study further other things that relate to business type. So I would study business or something. Yeah. Or hopefully go back to America eventually because I love it there and I miss the Carlos Bakery family so much. And I might like do cooking classes for kids and stuff, which I did some in America actually, which was really fun.
Okay. I mean, you've obviously worked with kids before, so if you're passionate about working with kids and you're passionate about baking, I mean, it makes a bit of sense to put something together. I mean, one thing that I've learned is that when you run a so-called business, everyone brings in certain levels of expertise. So if you are wonderful at baking, it doesn't mean that you are great at running a business. There are some people who are great at running a business, but they're certainly not very good at baking. There are some doctors who go into a business and they are outstanding doctors, but their practice closes down because they just don't know how to run a normal and collect money from customers. I mean, there's certain little things that you have to learn. And your grandfather's still around?
Yes.
Your biggest fan?
Biggest fan, biggest taste tester.
Is he like sitting there doing a bit of a victory dance because he was the one who told you to go and do this, and then all of a sudden you landed up working for Buddy the Cake Boss, and now you're back here. Is he going? I told you so. I mean, is he doing? Does he do that?
So he always comes whenever he comes for dinner or comes for tea. He'll always be like, "So what have you made next?" And then the first time I saw myself on TV on Cake Boss, which was the new season 7. I sat him down. I was like, "You've got to watch this and look for a surprise." And the minute he saw my face, his whole soul lit up.
Oh.
He just had the biggest smile.
Well, we're going to look at some of those pictures because I did a little bit of visiting on the internet, and let's see what I've got here. I think I put them over here. What we'll do is we'll open some of the photos, and then we'll try and share it on screen. So let's go here, and we'll share screen. Is it working? No, that's not that one we wanted to do. That was the one we wanted to do. Okay, so tell us a little bit about some of these photographs as we go along.
So that was when I went to go and meet Buddy.
Was that the actual day?
That was the day.
So let's just examine what you were wearing. I mean, what do you think it was that obviously gave you the advantage to...
I'm not sure, but I look very businessy and official.
Yes, and you were carrying a file. What was that all about?
So the file was my requirements for my culinary school. And yeah, so it's all the things I needed to do and complete. So I went just in case I needed to show someone what I had to complete, because I had to complete certain amounts of sections.
And I'm assuming it was pretty cold if you were wearing a thick jacket.
It was snowing.
But
it was snowing.
I mean, he's out in New Jersey, isn't he?
He's in New Jersey.
There's a snow there.
It snows in New Jersey.
I didn't know it snows in New Jersey.
It does.
Sure, okay. I've got family then, and I've never heard anything about snowing. And then what is this all about?
So this is me taking a picture with Buddy. He's in the middle, and that's
he didn't know that you were gonna rope him into hiring you that day.
Yes.
So this was before.
This was before the whole big shebang.
Okay.
And then that's my brother Greg Eliason, which was my big support, which I stayed at him throughout this whole
And if
journey.
I recall correctly, there are some kids there that you made certain superhero cakes for and things like that.
Yes, my nephew.
Is there an expectation now that you've been there for you to be this top level pastry chef that makes the most incredible birthday cakes that people will just, this is just like the best cake? I mean, it's got to look good, but it's also got to taste good.
Yeah.
And I find that some guys, they make great looking cakes, but when you cut into it, it's dry and but you obviously have to go for both.
So I'm going for both. I do make a lot of big cakes and stuff. And I always do the birthday cake here and there. And I've done some baby showers. I've done some birthday cakes and some...
Like for occasions and stuff like that. But I mean, the bigger the cake, the more complex it becomes.
Yes. My mom personally thinks my baking has improved and my knowledge has improved over my time in America.
And she has been testing your products ever since, absolutely. And she would be an honest critic, I would assume.
My dad.
Okay, and this?
So this is my mom's friend, Robin. She is the one wearing the lacy top.
Yes.
She always used to call me, ever since I was like 9, she used to call me the NGB, the next great baker. So I took her backstage, her boyfriend and her 2 girls, took them backstage to meet him and see who I'm working with.
Can you imagine the so-called appeal that you come to Cape Town with your idol and then you bringing people backstage for them to meet you and your idol? I mean, that must be quite an uplifting experience for you.
It really was. It really was. A lot of people saw how I grew as a person, as a pastry chef and everything. And I inspired a lot of young chefs. They came to me after book signing and everything, and they chatted to me a lot about their experience in culinary school and everything.
Oh, I got lots of feedback from the kids that I teach. They all said, oh, no, we saw her at the show. And they were very, very impressed. So you obviously did a good job. And here is a photograph of you at the Good Food and Wine show.
On stage with the famous cake boss.
Wow. So was that one of your first shows?
I think that was.
Because you're looking a little bit shy there at the background.
That was one of the third or fourth shows kind of thing. So each show we got a bit bored, so we just mixed it up. So it was a new experience every single.
So you did something different each time.
Yes.
And I mean, when he does the cake boss type show, he's not really talking recipes. He's talking like how to decorate the cake. Is that right?
Yes. So he was talking how to decorate the cake, but he actually also tells his life story, which for me, I've never heard his life story before this.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that he was after school and everything, constantly at the bake shop, everything, and then sadly his dad passed away and he had to step up to the plate. So
I think when he was 17. In 1999. Yeah, I've done a bit of homework, yes.
And I actually left school when I was 17. And
wow.
I went after the one show, we went off stage and I was like, buddy, do you know that I left school at 17? And
so there were a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
So, buddy, I hope you're watching. I mean, this is very important that you know that there are these little connections. And then this over here is one of your fans, I take it?
Yes. So this little girl came up to me crying because she was so happy to meet me. It was adorable. So I had to take a picture. She's the most adorable little thing.
That is so cool. You know what? I think that's the one thing that when you work with young kids, it is so important to be a role model.
Yeah,
and a lot of celebrities, they forget that it's not just about them. When you are put in a place where you are a celebrity, you automatically become a role model, and the minute you start doing things that are negative, your fans or the young following start copying what you do.
Yes.
And that can be a very dangerous thing because, and I know that everyone says, but I'm my own individual person and I want to express myself. But you know, in the big superhero movies with great powers come great responsibility or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, when you're inspiring young kids, it's important to maintain that at all times.
Yes. It was definitely so special having this little girl come up to me with tears pouring down her face. So happy that she went to a show and she saw the cake boss and saw me, and her mom showed me pictures of how she baked cupcakes the one day, and it's just so nice how I got to inspire someone and learning from my inspiration at the same time.
That is fantastic, fantastic. And then, of course, this is a very special moment. What happened over here? And I'm sure that you recorded this and played this many times over.
Yeah, so that was actually a day I forgot my uniform, but besides that, that was the first time I did filming with Buddy, and it was when Mary came in and discussed new t-shirts and new branding products, and we were actually making lobster tails.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was crazy, the weirdest experience having cameras around and just a whole bunch of things happening, and the lights and the people and the buzz.
Was that intimidating at first?
I was terrified at first. Terrified. But then I got through it and was awesome.
I mean, how often were they in the bakery filming you?
Pretty much every day, 24/7. Not me all the time, but filming the bakery and the cakes and just everything.
Wow. So, and how many times were you on TV? Or how many times will you be on TV?
I'm not sure, because I remember doing like 4 cakes, but then I saw a cake on TV the other day where I did the buttons for or this or that. So it's like.
And you obviously know the signature cakes.
Yes.
How much does a cake go for? I mean, I'm sure that when you're selling a Buddy cake, there's obviously a price tag that goes with it.
I'm not too sure because I never asked about the finances point of view, but
I mean, surely they must have mentioned on the program that if you're going to be buying a bespoke, a specially designed cake, that there must be a price tag. I mean,
I'm honestly not sure.
Wow. Or she's been very diplomatic, I'm just saying. Okay, and I think we've seen all the photos.
All the photos.
So let's go back to the Hangout again, and we can Stop sharing screen. There we go. And we're back again. And if there were, I mean, it sounds all glamorous. Everything was going very well. Were there any difficult moments? I know that you expressed the difficulties that you had with the first placement. It could have all been roses working inside a bakery. People get tense when there's pressure and stressed out, or was it just absolutely fantastic in that environment?
It was fantastic 100%, but there was definitely times where people got annoyed with each other or it was stressful because something went wrong. But for me also, I had to complete a certain amount of hours and I was very far behind. So I asked Joey and Haman if I could work an extra four hours. So I was working 8 hours, so I decided to work 12 hours just to complete my hours. So I was helping out in the night shift where it was 20 other boys and me. So it was very interesting being in an environment like that. And it was hard for me because I was working such long hours with a little break in between where like you're on your feet all day, you're stressing out. And then one of my friends decided to start working overtime with me, which was great. And
so that made a big difference.
Yes, it did make a big difference.
And what about gender ratios? I mean, men to women. What sort of, was it mostly men, some women?
It's pretty equal, but there's a lot of men in the bakery, so men can cook.
Good. And did you make any good friends there while you were there?
Yes, I did. I speak to my supervisor, Haman, a lot, and my friend Kia. And I've got a whole bunch of people there that I'm very close with and I speak to all the time. And
you're itching to get back.
I'm itching to get back, definitely. I was discussing with my dad the other day.
So what would stand in your way?
I'm just like finding an apartment there and just securing a whole bunch of things there.
You don't happen to have a brother there?
Yeah, but once I'm there working...
No, then of course you want to get settled. But I mean, he could obviously help you to get set up.
100%. But also what I experienced in the bakery, which was very touching to me, because I like working with people and everything, I experienced a whole bunch of different cultures, which was fantastic.
Well, being South African, already you are out of your comfort zone when you come to an environment where you have people from all parts of America, but also I'm sure there were other international people there?
Not so much.
So you were like a bit of a celeb then? I'm sure they loved your accent.
Yes, I had to say a lot of words. I got so sick of the questions. I convinced the wine guy that I ride rhinoceroses to work and I have a pet giraffe.
Well, you do, don't you? Okay, I'm just checking. So now, I mean, you're back. You're finishing off your finals, the exams. When do you finish completely?
After the 4th of November, and then I'll graduate next year.
Okay. And if there was any advice that you could give young people in terms of following your dreams and your passions, there's obviously a certain stigma. People say, oh, well, you didn't really finish, your high school. Why did you go to college, whatever? The irony is that there are people who finish and go into degrees and can't find work. And here you are doing exactly what you love. What advice would you give young people? So
for me personally, I could have stayed in school. I could not have, so I chose not to. And it was the love and support of family. And
that obviously made a big difference.
That made a huge difference.
Or was it a very influential grandfather who planted the seed and the others were going,
no,
maybe?
it was the family, definitely.
Okay.
And eventually it was following my dream, taking the big step, taking initiative of my life and not taking no for an answer and just...
Oops, sorry. We have Effie who's just joined us for the last few minutes. And Effie, I'm just going to mute you there. Effie's actually in Greece at the moment. Hi. So I mean, you've obviously grown in confidence in how you approach things.
And also independence. So
Have you ever lived away from home before?
Never.
Okay, so this must have been a big thing for you.
My mom did come twice to Disney, which was great, but I had my family there.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the whole independence and following my dreams and making everything happen, and just life. You could have something and it could not work out, or it could go south or go but the wrong way, but it's just saying, listen, I'm going to make this happen. No one's standing my way.
Okay, but now in the food industry, it is literally almost 24 hours. The bakery people have to get up early in the morning to start prepping so that when they start baking, when that store opens, they've got fresh produce.
Yes.
So, I mean, you work crazy hours. So it does work on shifts, I assume?
Yes, there is shifts. It's 8-hour shifts.
You can't expect someone to be there all the time.
No.
And in terms of the profile that Carlo's Bakery has achieved from all the TV programs, and obviously Buddy does a lot of promotion and he's in other programs as well. I think there's a Kitchen Boss and something else as well. That kind of celebrity draws the crowds in.
Yes, definitely.
So do you think people come in just to catch a glimpse of Buddy, or do you think they come to taste these world famous cupcakes?
They definitely come to taste and experience the whole Carlo's Bakery vibe, and they see what's on TV. And in the Hoboken store, there's a little glass panel where you could see everyone doing the finishing touches, icing cakes and everything, which is amazing to see.
And in terms of icing, I'm not really an icing fan. I'm the kind of guy that when you get a cake, I chop the icing off so I can have the cake.
And I eat the icing.
Oh, we should get together. I'm telling you now.
Definitely.
This is just, you get those boxes of chocolates, and some people, they take the ones with the orange rind and they put those aside. I'll take those, thank you very much. So you always find that there's certain parts of the cake that you don't like. Icing in particular, just that feels like you're eating chocolate butter, which is way too rich for me. But some people think that's like the best part. So in general, if you're doing proper icing, is it made with butter? Is it made with lard? Is it made with you get that icing sugar that you just add water to it? What is the best way to make icing?
So it depends. If you're icing a cupcake, you'll do a buttercream icing, which is vanilla, butter, a splash of milk, and some icing sugar. And then you just whip it up and pipe it on, or put it on however you would like it. But there's different types of icings for different types of things. Like there's a water icing, there's royal icing, which is egg whites. There's
if you're doing a carrot cake, you might do a cream cheese type icing. I see.
And you could, with shortening and butter, you could use shortening butter or margarine. It's pretty much the same thing, but butter's the way to go.
Hello, I mean, who even contemplates anything else? And I mean, you obviously get to go around and sample the fair in Cape Town. Have you become a little bit of a cupcake snob, where you walk into a place and go, oh, come on, that's not a cupcake? Does that sort of thing happen?
Yes. I've become very, I don't want to say judgmental, but very aware of presentation and looks and taste of things. So if I see something that catches my eye, I'll taste it. But if there's something like a cupcake that looks terrible, it might taste amazing. So take a chance and
you do.
Give it a
Are there any places in Cape Town that you have tasted really good cupcakes or chocolate brownies, whatever it may be, that you might be willing to mention? Yeah. Anything in particular that has jumped out at you?
So my favorite place it's called Coffee Time. It's in Gardens.
Yes, I have been there. It is very nice.
The best chocolate muffins ever. The best.
And they're not parting with that recipe.
They're not parting with
it. Okay, so we must remember that.
But it is one of those things where you just you gasp.
I'm taking notes. Coffee. Okay, and do they put icing on it?
Sometimes,
but you can have it without the icing.
You can have it without the icing.
Winner, you can have the bowl of icing. I'm happy with that. And if there was for example, if there was an opportunity to be on TV or to do a show or something like that, would you be confident enough to just put together some sort of edutaining event where you could showcase some of the skills that you've learned? You have no problem doing that at all?
Definitely. As I said earlier, I got asked like 24 hours ahead to do a baking demonstration at a camp in America.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why not? Let me try it out. It was very weird at first, but then I got into it. I worked with the kids a lot, and just working with people and teaching people. I love to express my creativity and teach people different ways to do things.
What about taking some of South Africa back to the USA? Did you take any traditional South African recipes, things like milk tart and cook sisters? Did they get a chance to sample any of that?
They didn't get a chance to sample any of that, but I did make it at home for my brother times because he was nagging me a lot.
And have you got like a special recipe for things like milk tart and that type of thing?
For me,
or brandy. What's it? A nice brandy snaps and a good brandy. You know, they do the cake where what do they call it? Is it called brandy cake? It's almost like a malva pudding with brandy. Oh, those are winners.
So for me, I try and experiment. I'm starting to work on writing all my recipes down in a book, so starting to kind of create my own cookbook type of thing, but that will take a bit of time. So I'll get a recipe, I'll make it, I'll get it off the internet or from the book or whatever, and I'll make it, and then if it doesn't seem right, or like a lot of recipes I've made it and then the texture is too dry or something, so I'll add little things in, or instead of putting in a vanilla essence, I'll put in coffee or some other form of sweet thing.
So you do a lot of problem solving in terms of trying to find a recipe that suits you. But now, interestingly enough, food is often based on your own personal taste. So you could taste a chocolate brownie and go, that is an outstanding brownie. And I could come along and taste and go, it's okay. So what happens then?
So I have my house is the type of houses where everyone has keys. You come in and out whenever you want, even if you're not there. So I've always got taste testers, and my friend's always there. My parents' friends are always there. I'll always make stuff for my dad's office
And do you need honest people who are going to give you the kind of feedback that you need?
Yes.
Not your friend who goes, oh, it was the best, really fantastic. You don't want that sort of thing.
Yeah. I actually cook a lot for the old age home, for Hannon's house. I make a lot of things for the ladies there that I visit. I've been visiting for the past years. So
that is amazing. And you know, one thing I learned when I was in the USA, we were doing summer camps for seniors, and the catering was very different when compared to the catering for the kids, because as you get older, your taste buds don't operate the same way, so the food has to be much tastier. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if they are telling you how good it is, then obviously it must be pretty good. Oh boy. Okay, so we've only got about 5 minutes left, and I'm sure there's still a couple of questions. I'm not even sure. I didn't even check to see if any of the questions had come through on the email. So while we're sitting here, I will check to see if anyone had sent through any questions. And let's see. Oh, and Jamie Rose, I'm pointing at you. Jamie Rose, unfortunately, couldn't make it, so she just SMS'd me saying she's really, really upset that she couldn't make the interview today.
We'll have coffee soon.
Yes, definitely. And I did have a bake-off with her, and I'm convinced that I did win with my chocolate brownies. Now, you obviously watch a lot of other celebrity chefs on TV, and for you, you know, Buddy is the person that you focus with, and I mean, you've had the Jamie Olivers and the Gordon Ramsays who've come down here. They focus mainly on the gastronomical type food, but they don't focus too much on the baking, although they do cover that. Do you ever look up, I mean, do you have any other celebrity chefs whose recipes you think are just absolutely amazing?
So I like to go used some of Jenny Morris's recipes.
Okay, she's a local chef here in Cape
chef,
Town.
Yes. And Siba from Siba's Table.
Yes.
Which is a nice show.
So you're very much supporting local.
Yeah.
We like that, yeah.
I met Siba backstage, and she is just such a special lady, and I really love her, and she's really inspirational and everything.
So do you think that in the not too distant future we might see an Ora's show?
Maybe in the future someday, but
I'm already pitching it. It's going to be Ora's Ora. And you see the aura is spelled slightly differently. So, you know, your cupcake could have like this aura around it. You never know.
Yeah.
My royalties, 10%. Okay. So I mean, that is something that you could obviously pitch to the local TV stations, because they're very big on promoting local programming, but more importantly, it's something that is easy to maintain and sustain every week. It's not like you can do 3 or 4 episodes and go, well, I don't have any more recipes, I can't do it. There's no shortage of recipes. Yeah. So I mean, are we looking forward to something? I mean, are you milling ideas around in your head?
There are ideas going around and suggestions, but I'm not too sure yet. So one step at a time, whatever life takes, wherever life goes.
Okay, and now in South Africa, for example, we've got Charlie's Bakery that have been very popular on the cooking channels around the world. Do you think that South Africa is considered or taken seriously from a gastronomical point of view, from a bakery point of view, from a cooking point of view?
I think so. So Charlie's Bakery is big, and they have a whole bunch of local celebrity chefs. But for me personally, there's a lot of little holes in the walls type of thing that have amazing pastry chefs and everything.
So, you know, I know one of the programs on the Food Channel is Guys, Diners, Drive.
Yes.
What's it? Diners,
Drive-ins and dives.
Yeah, okay. And he really is a character of note. And what I'm always amazed is that he goes and he stops off at all these little remote places. And it's very dangerous to watch a channel like this, because you get so hungry. The minute they start tasting all these things, you can almost smell the food coming through the TV screen. And if it's a really good TV screen, I mean, you can see the texture of the food. Yes. Do you think that maybe we have a wonderful opportunity to go around South Africa and find those little pockets of excellence where they've got the world's most famous crocodile pie? Or, I mean, they do these sorts of things apparently up the N1 and N2. Maybe it's the best chocolate brownies, or a lovely milk tat up in Darling, because, I mean, they live for their milk tat up in Darling. Yeah. So do you think that there's even a chance where you could go and identify the best little pockets in South Africa?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. See, that could be a nice show.
And then, you know, do some research, taste the food, go to gym for an hour, you know.
And that was the other thing I wanted to ask. I mean, when it comes to baking and cooking, there's a lot of tasting, and if we're going to be honest with each other, we like to use the real ingredients, none of this fake stuff.
Yes.
And if you tend to indulge a little bit more than usual, does that impact on your fitness levels and your health by any chance? Because I know if it was me, I wouldn't have time to go to gym because I'd be too busy baking, and if I'm too busy baking, I'm too busy eating, and if I'm too busy eating, then that cycle starts repeating.
So for me, when I was in culinary school, I would finish my practical, eat during my practical, of course.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
Yes. And then I would go to gym straight afterwards, and then I would go home and study some more. But now that I'm home, like, I'm baking enough for the house and on the side for people and everything. So I would bake, and then if I had something like meringues in the oven for 2-3 hours, I would go to gym, have a timer on my phone, or I would go for a run, or I would always find time to do fitness, because I'm very passionate about my fitness and exercise. And
so that's good. So you've got a bit of a balance going on. That is amazing. So now we've literally got about 1 minute left. Is there anything else you want to tell us before we end off? Anything that I mean, like a highlight, a special moment, an experience in the last couple of months that really stands out, that was like, completely amazing?
For me, one of the most amazing and surreal and crazy moments of the whole experience is we would be filming and Buddy would be like, okay, someone order pizza type of thing. And then stop filming, we'd order pizza. And just sitting down, like the two of us now, Buddy would be sitting right next to me. We would be eating pizza and I would actually be spending time with my celebrity role model and biggest inspiration on my life. And it would be one of the craziest, weirdest moments. Would you just chill in a restaurant and eat pizza with one of your role models?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you probably discover that he is a human being.
Yes,
that he does have some kids and just
which
like
are adorable.
and do they come and visit a lot?
They do. His kids actually taught me a few things. I couldn't cover a cake in the beginning until Buddy showed me. Mini Buddy showed me how to cover a cake.
So that's very cool. And I think that also when you're in a profession, you're always learning on the job. It doesn't matter who teaches you, you're always learning.
100%.
And being open to that.
And everyone has, you don't just have one opinion. You have 8 opinions. So when I was doing Mob's Tales, I first had Antonio showing me how to do it. Then Carlos told me, listen, this isn't right, you need to do it this way. Then John was telling me, do it this way. Then Kinskill was telling me, do it that way. And then eventually you come up with your own way to do it, but incorporating all their advice.
If I'm not correct, Buddy is Italian.
Yes.
So does that mean he struggles to do the cakes because he also talks with his hands? So how does he speak and do the cakes at the same time?
He can do it.
Can he manage?
He can do it.
He can manage. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ora, I want to say thank you very much. It really is so exciting to see when young people follow their dreams. And for me, the exciting bit was when you said you didn't take no for an answer. I think it's so important that young people give up too easily. They for example, should I, shouldn't I? If I do this, yeah, well, and you had your family to support you as well. That was very important. So families out there, very important. You must always support your kids in whatever it is that they want to achieve. Because, you know, if you had followed the academic route, let's say maybe done a social science, what would you have done then? You wouldn't have gone this route. But there's also a little bit of serendipity along the way. If your grandfather had not stepped in and said, let her go and do that, that might not have happened. So there were a lot of things in the universe that came together that made it all work.
Yeah.
Do you pay it forward now? I mean, you know, there's this lovely lady in I think she's up in Joburg at the moment. She goes around and she bakes cakes and then she gives them to the homeless people on the streets. And if you know about, I'll send you all the information. Lovely young lady. She used to just test out a recipe, make a cake, and then she passed it on, and it was on Facebook, and then people started sharing it. And then all of a sudden, people were saying, well, how can we get involved? And she now does it. It's all voluntary, but she does it because she wants to brighten someone's day. So, I mean, do you feel that from your experiences that there's a lot of opportunity to pay it forward, to get other people involved?
Yes, and my domestic workers child used to always have friends over, and I would always get them to help me in the kitchen, and they would be learning new things, and they would be watching cake bars and stuff, and they would be having dreams of baking and stuff. But also, I love baking for the old age homes, and because some people in the old age homes, their kids don't even visit there, and they're sitting there like a vegetable. So just having someone young coming and giving you even a few little cookies brightens up your day, and just is so special to them.
One final thing. What is Ora's signature dish? The one thing that if you think you, like, there's no way, hands down, anyone will beat you at, what is it?
I have to say my meringues. But
what makes them so good?
I don't even know, but I've perfected my meringue way. But also my chocolate ganache meringues are fantastic. My friend's dad always, I'm at them pretty much every weekend, and he says you're not allowed to come over unless you bring meringues.
That seems like a fair rule.
Every time I go there, I make meringues. I've perfected so many types of ways to make meringues. And
but now obviously it does depend on ovens. So if you go work in another kitchen with different cooking equipment, the same meringue that you were going to make might not turn out the same way.
100%. So I have mastered my oven. Because ovens are crazy things that don't make sense even though temperatures are meant to be correct. So I've told my oven what to do and what temperature to be at, and we're friends now. Yes.
Okay, there's communication. All right. Well, Ora, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And for all of you that joined us live on YouTube, and of course, Effie, thank you for joining us from Greece. We had people from Livingston from Kenya. We had Joe from Newtown, just outside New York there. And of course, we had Kathy in Austria. And hopefully we had a few viewers also from South Africa as well. And this will now be available on the Living Maths website. So I'm going to stop the before I stop the broadcast, now I can stop it here.